Welcome to this episode of Fish People. Our guest today needs no introduction. He is trying to set the world record for most board seats on seafood initiatives, currently supporting initiatives like the Global Dialogue on Seafood Traceability and the Global Sustainable Seafood Initiative. But despite his busy agenda, I know him to be someone who always makes time for you. Marcelo, how are we doing today?
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here. Nice to see you.
So today we will be talking about fisheries because this is part of the Fish People series. But I do want to mention that you have worked and continue to work both on fisheries and aquaculture. Why do you love the seafood sector so much? What makes you keep coming back for more?
Well, I am a passionate person about oceans, and I remember back in my secondary school, I have to decide what to study. So my parents were asking, "What do you want to study?" All my brothers, we are five. They are architects, engineers, and doctors. So those were my options, and I said, "No, I want to study something that I can work next to the sea because I love the sea and get a good money for that." So I decided to search for marine biology in different universities in Ecuador and later aquaculture. So by education, I am aquaculture or aquaculturist, have they say. And I stay in that sector very short period. I work in my summer time in hatcheries. I did my research in managing broodstock, big shrimps. But I stay in the sector managing a shrimp farm very short time, like 1 year and a little bit more. And then I moved to the uh, fishery sector by casualty. Also because the Y spot disease arrived in Ecuador and the shrimp industry was hit. And I was forced to move to fisheries. I didn't know the difference between a tuna fish and a red snapper because by education I was aquaculture, just
Yeah.
focusing shrimp, tilapia, and lobster. And I found this connection between fisheries and aquaculture due to this incident. And from there, I keep rolling, working in the private sector, always in the private sector for fisheries. And then I came to Europe to study a master. And being here, I joined another tuna company, but then I went back to the aquaculture. It's something that I enjoy a lot, working with people in the farm, in aquaculture, but also in fishing boat, processing side for fisheries. And it's about people, how they are handling and working hard in these two sectors.
Because where in Ecuador did you grow up? Was that on the coast?
Yes, a small city called Puerto Viejo
Okay.
is like 20 kilometers from the coastline. But every weekend, every Sunday, our family took us to the beach.
Amazing.
And my group of friends, always we spend the weekend on the beach doing beach sport. But for me, it was also very amazing to go to the market and see a big pieces of fish, red fish. And my father said, that is tuna. Let's buy tuna. He said, why this big piece of tuna doesn't have any bones? So I was fascinated to just go around. And later, after my university and working in this shrimp farm, after that, I moved to Manta. And I worked in Manta, Ecuador, for almost 10 years before coming to Europe.
That's where a lot of the processing takes place, right? And also
Yes,
the fishing for
yes,
tuna.
that is correct. Manta is the tuna capital.
Mm-hmm.
And is I would say nowadays is the biggest tuna port in the Pacific. In the
Okay,
Eastern
well,
Pacific Ocean, they have more than 100 tuna perceiners, and they have a capacity to process tuna, I think, more than 4,000 metric tons per day.
great.
And yeah, those
And
are the towns
so,
where I rise.
yeah, and what was the first time that you were actually working in seafood? Your first seafood related gig? Was that before you went to uni to study aquaculture or only after you graduated?
No, my first small job was during my university.
Mm-hmm.
I was working in a hatchery. So during summer, we have free time.
Mm-hmm.
I found a job in a small hatchery. So I was in this hatchery. It's a sort of hospital. Everything is aseptic. Everything is under control. And as a student, they gave me the night shift.
Mm.
And this hatchery was next to the airport. I
I
was
didn't know there were night shifts in hatcheries.
yes,
Is that just to keep an eye on everything, make sure
yeah,
everything's on track?
yes, and night shift, and I started every day from 8 p.m. until next day, five
Mm-hmm.
6. I have my breakfast and then go. But it was funny because it was next to the airport. I didn't know, and many people didn't know. And around midday, we saw some lights in the air. We thought they were ovnis, UFOs.
Was this some kind of secret
Yeah,
governmental airport?
yeah, yeah. Government. It was actually was a army base nearby, so
Okay.
they were doing the surveillance at night. But yeah, until we understand that was. But that was my
Yeah.
first job, and how to cultivate algae also to feed these little post larvae was really interesting. Learning by doing.
Yeah. Great. And I mean, it really grabbed you because I do believe kind of since then you've always just worked in seafood, right? As I mentioned, both on aquaculture and fisheries, but really got the seafood bug, as they say.
Yes, and since there I got connected, and I would say after that I was just like ready to start to search for a stable job in something
Hmm.
related to fisheries or aquaculture. I remember.
Yeah, so 'cause now a lot of your work focuses on fisheries. As I mentioned, you're involved with several initiatives, and often you do this in the capacity also of representing an organization you work for, which is the Papua New Guinea Fisheries Industry Association, or FIA PNG. How did you get involved in fisheries in Papua New Guinea and then specifically with FIA? And also maybe explain exactly what does a fisheries industry association? Like who are the members? What do they do for their members? For anyone who's maybe less familiar with that type of organization.
Yes. Yes, thank you for that question. Well, it's a really nice history about how I end up or how I started with FIAPNG. After all my experience and all my work in Ecuador, my last 5 years in Ecuador, I worked for Trimarine.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when Trimarine hired me, I didn't know what is Trimarine. They say, "Ah, you are going to work for Trimarine, organization that was vertically integrated in the 5 continents and all the oceans. Impressive, it's huge." But I was coming from aquaculture and I was coming
Mm-hmm.
from a small scale fisheries in Ecuador. I didn't have any idea how big was a trimarine. Until then, I learned. In few months, I realized that was I was working for the top biggest tuna supplier in
Mm-hmm.
the world. I learned a lot with them, and they also gave me the opportunity to travel around the world. So I was capable to speak some few words in English. And I remember Tremari sent me to first Colombia, Peru. Then I had the opportunity to live in China 6 months, living and auditing several tuna processing landings, looking at traceability, looking at legal issues, but focus also in client standard requirements. Also with Trimarine, I had the opportunity, it was a beautiful opportunity to live in Mauritius Islands,
Oh wow.
almost 6 months doing the same. And well, after that, I started a master in food science and technology at the
Mm-hmm.
university. I stayed there almost 1 year, and after that, I started to apply to different European organizations because I was not
Mm-hmm.
expecting to get a job in Europe. And then I was called by the organization called Sustainable, and Sustainable asked me to set up controls in India. So I flew all the way from Ecuador to study in Europe
To be
to
sent to
move to
India.
India. I live in India 6 months. Then I remember he proposed me to place me in the Pacific. I say in the Pacific, where? In Marshall Islands. What? I didn't have any idea what Marshall Islands was or where it was located. So
Okay.
I started to be involved with him in sustainability issues since 2009, 2010. For me, was the first time I heard this word sustainability at that
Mm-hmm.
year, 2010. Oh, it's about sustainability initiative in the PNA countries, the parties of Nauru Agreement. A countries,
Mm-hmm.
and he have a very good concept. So I joined him, and he created a company. 50% belongs to him, 50% to the 8 governments of the Pacific: Marshall Islands, Nauru, Palau, Kiribati, Vanuatu, Tuvalu, Solomons, and one else.
There's always one you forget. I can't name it either.
And they create Pacifica, really nice
Mhm.
concept for local people, local trade, etc. Being with that organization, I grew up a lot because allows me not only to connect with the Pacific as a sort of tuna and perceiners in different countries. I have the opportunity to visit federal state of Micronesia, Papua New Guinea, Fiji, the
Wow.
Philippines as well, to train and work with governments, because my
Mhm.
role was like MSc traceability project manager, to demonstrate that we have several things in place to trade tuna. At that time, only we can trade free school, no fat. I am talking about more than 14 years ago.
Mhm.
And we made it. Almost 2014, I said, well, it's time to try something. And I resigned and I opened my consultancy company, Seafood
Mhm.
Matter. Was June 2014. And I remember my first client was Accreditation Services International. Nothing to do with the private industry that I have been working, aquaculture and fisheries, and monitoring.
Okay. Was there any particular type of expertise that they said, "Oh, we really need
Yes,
this," that they
yes.
were lacking? What was it?
They said, you have a good profile, good
Yeah.
experience in aquaculture and fisheries,
Yeah.
but zero qualifications.
We love you, but you're very underqualified.
Exactly. I say, so why you call me? I say, no, but we are going to work together. We are going to invest in you. You have to take like a long blanket of
No.
trainings
Yeah. 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 Of
and
course.
workshop.
Tick the
And
boxes.
yes, and they invested a lot on me in my qualifications.
Mhm.
It was a good combination to merge all my experience with a formal training to get
Mhm.
my qualification and be competent, to be capable and qualified to auditors auditing farms or fisheries. It was a really good experience to work with them for 4.5 years, but I was traveling too much,
Yeah.
even more than now.
Mhm. Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, Marcelo travels quite a bit.
And then after working, yeah, at the same time, that was my main client as consultant, but I have some different small projects.
Mhm.
And by 2018, Papua New Guinea called me and they say, hey, Marcelo, we want you that you replicate what you did for PNA in Papua New Guinea.
Mhm.
And I keep this small tuna client, PNG. If you remember, by 2018, MSC released the mega variation request or something related, where
Okay.
said no one else can sell any tuna free school. You have to demonstrate that the entire fishery is sustainable, using fat,
Mhm.
using porciner, setting it on fat or setting it on free school. So that was a very important year. And
Yeah. Could you just briefly explain kind of free school and then fat?
well, porciners relies in, let's say, in three type of different sets, associated set. Unassociated set, porciners on unassociated set is when the porciner is literally hunting. Porciners use
Mhm.
helicopters, binoculars, they are sizing birds, searching for adult tuna swimming together. Adult tuna is known as the Ferrari of the oceans because they swim less than 70 kilometers per hour or a little bit faster.
Yeah,
And
amazing.
tuna porciners have to go and hunting and setting it. That is free school in commercial words. FAT is fish aggregating devices, is a man-made structure, now has to be biodegradable and non-entangling. Let's say it can be like a cube 2 by 2 with some sonar inside, some GPS, and they are dragging in the ocean. And this structure is accumulating debris, sometimes nutrients,
Mm-hmm.
and it's aggregating. That is the reason why they call fish aggregating device.
Yeah.
And they are drifting by with the currents, by the ocean. But every fishing company now there is a fat management plan. It's obligatory to put a buoy with a beep, so every company knows where the fat is drifting, and the
Exactly.
authorities are
To.
checking where are those fats drifting. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
science behind that to learn how they are drifting, and that is Porceiners fishing on fat. CO2 more efficient because you know where the fat is. More or less, you have the idea about the volume swimming under the fat, and you just go straight, set the net, and harvest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we have the third type is the anchor fat, but these are more for a small scale fishery. In
Mm,
my experience, I have seen a lot of anchor fat coastal communities within the 10 or 20 nautical miles, and they are no-go zone for industrial fishing. These are dedicated anchor fat for coastal communities where someone with pole and line or someone with a small hand line goes and fish. So
yeah.
these are the three types.
Yeah.
So at that time in
Perfect.
2018,
Mm-hmm.
I think there was no clarity which country has a good and strong fat management plan about monitoring, tracking, reporting, withdraw, etc. So, but I knew that Papua New Guinea was one of the first countries in the Pacific to have it in 2015. So I was quite happy with the challenge because I did the MSC pre-assessment, fishery pre-assessment, and I proposed the members, hey, we can certify everything. We don't need to follow the trend and only certify free school. And at the same time, we were receiving from the standard setter MSc no more partial certification. Now has to be a comprehensive certification. So it was a very good opportunity for
Mm-hmm.
me and for Papua New Guinea Fishing Industry Association to get it. And we made it. The fishery expert team of the certification body is SCS Global came, assessed, and we made it. We passed. We were the first fishery globally and in the Pacific to get the MSc fishery certification for all gear types.
Great. Well, actually, you've been really all over the planet with your work. Much more than I realized. I understand maybe at some point it became a little bit too much because you also have a personal life. One thing, could you explain, because we haven't gotten to that yet, exactly what does FIA do? Like, who are its members, and then how do
Okay.
they work to support the fishery in Papua New Guinea, like that?
Yeah. The aim of this association was to have one voice as a private sector against the
Mm-hmm.
government to collaborate with the government regarding fishing, developing fishing law, lobby the government to provide better fisheries access, etc., etc. That's it. Since I was contracted, and together with me also the new chairman, Sylvester Pokayam, we
Mm-hmm.
set up the initiative. Our aim in 2018 on paper was to create a reference in the Pacific and
Mm-hmm.
go beyond the sustainability certification, but demonstrate with a due diligence several positive impact that we can our fishery can do. So our members are uh, eight tuna fleet.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is from Taiwan. It's very well, but the others are Filipinos like Fravel Fishing, RD Fishing, TPG, TSP, Starkey, and Blue Catch Corporation. And also tuna processors. We have 5 tuna processors: IFC, Majestic, number one, SSTC, RD processor, Fravel processor, and one more that is missing. Anyway, so this group of all of them are vertically integrated and big players. They
Mm-hmm.
own the fishing, the tuna fleet, the fishing vessel. They are integrated with a tuna processing and they export.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
for us, Sylvester Pokayan and me, he as a chairman, we draw the initial RSP. What is the RSP? The responsible sourcing policy. And that is what
Mm-hmm.
we add has a added value in FIAPNG. Not only lobby the government, but we decide to do something else. An initiative, no standard, nothing. It's just a due diligence where we align with 4 areas: sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
doing implementation of MSC requirements using different tools in the market. A second pillar, looking at traceability, where we have one of the real-time best platform ever, FINS, or Fishery Industry Management System, by the way, is verified by the Global Dialogue for Traceability, how has interoperable. A third pillar about marine litter. At that time, no one was, or well, the tuna industry was not too focused in ghost gear, and we were controlling weights and checking gear type, gear use, etc. And the fourth pillar, it was regarding labor, crew members. So with these four pillars, now FIA-PNG is not only lobby the government. Now Papua New Guinea is shaping the tuna sector in the Pacific. Several governments look at us as a frontliners, as a example to be followed because of these four areas. The model is working. The RSP is working. We share our vessel monitoring system in real time with the Global Fishing Watch of our tuna purseaners. I am very proud to say that we are the only tuna fleet in the world that do that, share the VMS in real time with the Global Fishing Watch. There is no quarantine period to share the data 30 days later or 2 weeks later. No, it's now in real time. Of course, there were some hiccups and delays and problems in the past, but we fixed it, and now Global Fishing Watch is getting all that. And that gave us also like a added value to the market, because many market players are asking for that type of information.
Yeah. Builds
Sharing your
trust.
yes, sharing your VMS, you are decreasing a lot of risk in forced labor, in IUU, legality issues, in traceability as well. So this is one of the examples. And having this model, we escalated to the small scale fisheries, lobster. And it's really interesting because we can demonstrate how the industrial fishing, that is fishing in front of the country, in front of the beaches, within the A zone, is working well with a coastal community fishery, that is the lobster fishery depends of the income for many families coming from all these villagers. There is no any harm coming from the industrial fishing. So in Papua New Guinea, we can demonstrate in real, tangible, that both fisheries, industrial and small scale fishery, work together in a sustainable manner. And we want to replicate in lobster the RSP. And we are very excited with our chairman that now we are going to release the dingings GPS signal with Global Fishing Watch. I am going ahead of some public announcement, but maybe in the coming months. But the National Fishery Authority of Papua New Guinea is doing an excellent job. They set up a traceability device, GPS, in every single dinging for lobster fishery, for reef fish, for most of the coastal community fish. It's amazing the investment that the NFA of Papua New Guinea have done. We don't have brand in tuna, so since FIA PNG doesn't have any brand, our raw material is export to any tuna processor, and they use in different
They use
tuna
it.
brands.
Yeah.
So I can say, based on the last survey we did with our members, we are present in more than 90 countries. 18% of the global tuna catches are coming from Papua New Guinea.
And which tuna species are we talking about here?
Well, we have certified, or we demonstrate, that the three species in the Pacific are in the green bar: big eye, skipjack, and yellowfin. Those are the
Big
three
eye
species.
skipjack, yellowfin. Yeah.
But mainly we
Okay.
export only skipjack and yellowfin.
Beyond, we've touched on it a little bit already, but just to, draw a picture a little bit more of the fishing sector in Papua New Guinea, you say the large scale fishery sector, it is really just focused on tuna. There's a significant amount of tuna there, must be, if it represents 18% of the global tuna catch. Are there other species that industrial fisheries are targeting there, or is it really just tuna focused?
No, in FIA PNG, we only target tuna for
The
industrial
tunas, yeah.
fishing.
And then on the small scale side, you mentioned lobster. Any other species?
Yes, we are moving now this year with mud crab. It's a big mud crab, like this big. And then also we are moving with the prawns, wild caught,
Okay.
banana prawns, something like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, a few key species there. And then it also sounds like it's a fishery where the government is quite actively involved, and there is quite a lot of that interaction. Anything else you've seen with the fishery sector in Papua New Guinea, also drawing on your experience of having seen fishery sectors in a lot of different countries where you're like, oh wow, that's really, really different, or that's really typical for the sector in PNG?
Looking in my years with Papua New Guinea, it's something unique to see the collaboration between the government and the private sector. Takes time, but now is improving a lot. How the government is supporting not only the tuna industry but also the small scale fisheries, and for initiative like sometimes are bringing those opportunities come to us as a private sector. We lobby and we talk to the government to take it, like the Global Fishing Watch data sharing. That
Yeah.
was a unique opportunity that came to us as a private sector, but as a private sector, we don't have the legal responsibility to release the VMS because that is something that belongs to the government.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the things. Also, the FIMS, the Fisheries Industry Management System, which is a government platform where they place an observer on board to collect data, and the
Yeah.
observers in real time is collecting data and via e-tablet and feeding this system, and we import this information to feed the platform that has been verified by the Global Dialogue on Seafood Traceability.
Mm-hmm.
What make unique, I think, also in Papua New Guinea is that we control this traceability fishing trip by fishing trip. Every time a
Mm-hmm.
fishing vessel go for a MSC fish trip, we call MSC batch certificate. We
Mm-hmm.
control that movement based on the Global Fishing Watch tracking, based on the observers reporting, and we have a huge database available and ready to be transferred to any other tuna buyer that has a GDST interoperable platform. So I think that is something unique that I see
Yeah.
in PNG that nowadays is like normal.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 years ago was so difficult, but now it's
Yeah.
like, okay, it's done. It's available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unique to there, but also something that you've seen grow since you started your work there in 2017 to now. You touch upon an important topic that I wanted to dive into with you today as well, which is the topic of observers. Marcelo and I had plenty more to discuss, but as we will be taking the conversation to quite a different range of topics, we've decided to split this episode in two parts. In the next part, Marcelo and I will dive into observer programs and his thoughts on the future, both for himself and for other fisheries professionals. If you like this episode, please support our channels by subscribing and sharing it with your network. See you next time.